In this video, let's take a look at the notes for central angles and arc measures. A central angle is an angle with its vertex at the center of the circle and its two sides are radii. So there's a nice picture of that over here. So a central angle basically has the vertex of that angle at the center of the circle. The sum of all central angles in a circle is 360 degrees, because if you added them all together, it would form the whole circle. And the degree of the arc formed by the endpoints of a central angle is equal to the degree of the central angle. So that's the key for our notes today, is that this angle is equal to the measure of the arc that it touches on the edge of the circle with its endpoints. So it's the arc that it intercepts. So for this first example, it says the measure of arc BDC is 286 degrees. Therefore, we would know the measure of arc BC is 74 degrees because 360 degrees, which is our whole circle, minus 286 degrees gives us the remaining 74 degrees. And then if we know that the central angle is 74 degrees, we know that the arc that it intercepts would be the same degree. The next one says, this is an example of an arc of a circle. So the arc is like your pizza crust. It's just the edge of the circle, and it's usually just a portion of that edge. So it's like a portion of your circumference. And then the central angle is the one that's sitting right there in the middle, the 70 degrees, that angle that sits in the middle of the circle. So there's some nice vocabulary right there. So it's reiterated in the next picture. Let's continue on. So a minor arc, a major arc, and a semicircle are three good vocabulary words we can talk about for a minute. And they're pictured over here. So a minor arc is one that is less than half of the circle. A major arc is one that is more than half of the circle. And then a semicircle is exactly half of the circle. So a minor arc is the one that is less than 180 degrees, because that is half of the circle. That's where we get the 180 degrees from. A major arc is greater than, so let's write greater than 180. So in other words, more than half, but then not the whole circle yet. And a semicircle is exactly 180 or half of the circle. So three good vocabulary words. And then two more things to just review for a minute is congruent arcs versus vertical angles. So congruent arcs are when you have two arcs in your circle that have the same central angle and then they are equal to each other, but they are not necessarily vertical angles, which also occur sometimes. So just to reminisce, vertical angles are when you have two lines that would intersect through your circle and maybe touch. They might touch in the middle, they might not, but their angles they form on opposite sides of that intersection would be equal. So just to review that might still happen, but it's not necessarily always the case when you have congruent arcs. Okay, so let's look at some examples. Example 1 says find each angle and arc measure. Find the measure of arc JK. So arc JK would be the same measure as that central angle of 21 degrees, because the central angle equals the arc that it intercepts. The measure of angle JNM, so JNM is right there, and that is actually a linear pair with the 21 degrees, so we could say that's equal to 180 minus 21, which would be 159 degrees. The measure of arc KL, so arc KL is out there on the edge of the circle, but since these lines intersect, so KM and JL are intersecting lines, then these two angles right there are vertical angles. So this one is also 159 degrees, which means that arc would also be the same measure as the angle. in the center. The measure of arc JKM, all right, so let's say J to K to M, go in that order, would be the 21 degrees. You could think of it two different ways. You could say 21 plus 159, and then this one's also 21 because these are vertical angles. You could add all of those together, or you could look at it, let me erase some stuff to clear this picture up a little bit. If we know that the angle over here is 159 and we want to find JKM, we really need everything except for the 159. So you could do 360 minus 159, or the 21 plus the 159 plus the 21. So that would be 201 for our total. Yes, so then the measure of angle of arc MKL, so you want to draw it in the order they say it, so you can figure out if it's major or minor or a semicircle. So MKL goes in this order from M to K to L. So that would be everything, which is 360 minus 21. So that would be 300 and, let's see, 39. Okay, so let's look at example 2. This one says the measure of angle QUR. So QUR would be equal to the 19 degrees they've got labeled right there because those are vertical angles. The measure of arc PQ we could figure out because we know that this one is 90. So 90 minus 19 would leave us with 71 degrees, and that is equal to the arc that it intercepts. The measure of arc SR, let's see, SR would be a semicircle minus the 19 degrees. So we could say 180 minus 19. So 180 minus 19 would be 161. No, is that right? Yeah, 161 degrees. And then the measure of arc QRT. So if we go from Q to R all the way around to T, that would be the 19 plus the 161 degrees plus another 19. So 19 plus 161 plus 19 would be 199 degrees total. And then the measure of arc PSR. So let me erase what I've got to clear that up some. So from P to S to R, that actually covers everything except for the 90 degrees. It kind of looks like Pac-Man right there. So 360 degrees minus 90 degrees would just leave us with 270 degrees for that one. And then the measure of arc PS. All right, so let me erase this again. The measure of arc PS. So from P to S. And by the way, you normally go the shortest way possible if they only give you 2 letters. So directly from P to S would just be 90 plus the 19. I know that one's 90 because these two are a linear pair right here. And that would be 90 plus 19 would just be 109 degrees. All right, moving on to example 3. We need to find X. Let's see, so for this one, we can tell that these like EG and HF are vertical angles, and so we know that 103 degrees would equal the 15 plus the 18x minus 2. So if I say 15 plus 18x minus 2 equals 103, I could solve for X. So let's combine like terms. 15 minus 2 would be 13. Equals 103, and then if I subtract 13, I get 18x equals 90. And then 90 divided by 18 is just 5. All right, so we're done with that one already. Let's check out number 4. So we want x, and then the measure of arc JK, and then the measure of arc MJ, and the measure of arc LMK. Okay, so what we know is that LJ is a semicircle, which is 180 degrees. So we could add 5x plus 23 with 17x minus 41 and set that equal to 180. All right, so 5x plus 17x would be 22x. 23 minus 41 is negative 18. And that's all equal to 180. So if we add 18, let's get 22x is equal to 198, and then divide 198 by 22. So we get x equals 9, which is going to help us go back and figure out the rest. So if x equals 9, then arc JK would be 5 times 9 plus 23, which is 45 plus 23, which is 68 degrees. MJ, let's see, so if that is 68 degrees, then MJ, which helps to form that semicircle with the 68, would be 180 minus 68, which is 112 degrees. And then we need the measure of arc LMK. So L to M to K would be everything except for this angle. And we know that this angle is vertical with the 112 we just found. So we could say 360 minus 112, which would give us 248, because this would be 360 minus the 112. Okay, so I think we just have one more example down here. We need to find x and then a couple of different things. So I'll try to scroll back and forth. So to start finding x, let's see what we know. If we know this is 90 degrees by that little box right there, then we know the rest of this circle would add up to 270, because 360 minus the 90 will leave us with 270. So we could say 8x plus 21x minus 12 plus 10x plus 9 equals 270. Then 8x plus 21x plus 10x would be 39x. And then negative 12 plus 9 would be negative 3. So we're just combining like terms. Then we could add the 3. So we get 39x equals 273. And then divide both sides by 39. So we get x equals 7. So that's the first part of our answer. X is equal to 7. The measure of arc WX, let's see if we can figure that with the 7, would be 21 times 7 minus 12, which is 135 degrees. So go back over here. So that would be 135 degrees. Then we want arc YW. So arc YW would be the 90, let me grab another color, would be 90 degrees plus 8 times the 7 we figured out for x. So 8 times 7 is 56, and 56 plus 90 would be 146 degrees for arc YW. Then we need arc YX. Let's see, so we just need to plug in the 7 again. So 10 times 7 plus 9 would be 70 plus 9. So that's just 79 degrees. And then the measure of arc VXW. All right, so VXW. We need to go in that order. So from V to X to W, we would have everything except for this angle, which is 56 degrees. So if we do 360 minus the 56 degrees, we just get 304 degrees is left. Okay, so that's it for your notes.